We are the Blacks from Washburn. Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Very good.
Okay. So, what is your name about?
So my 988 actually is the suicide hotline. September is the month for suicide awareness. With the work that I've done, over the last couple of years, 20 or so, working with children and families, this is a resource that has been very helpful um, for children and adults, of course. But then, having some experience with family members that had suicidal ideations. It's just important for us to be mindful of, people that we believe may be having a hard time struggling. Maybe it's grief, maybe it's some things going on at school, lost your job, lost a child. It's an excellent resource for someone to be able to talk to. Um, a trained facilitator that can walk them through the process of either getting additional help or at least helping themselves to get out of feeling like they want to end it all, like there is hope.
So, I just would dial 988, and what would happen?
Yeah, so you would dial 988. So they actually this is they shorten the hotline number so that you don't have to dial those 9 digits anymore. So it's like dialing 911 except it's 988.
Okay. And somebody picks up on the other end.
Somebody picks up. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm representing, I guess, a organization on with my name today. AABHE is the American Association of Blacks in Higher Education.
Okay.
So, and I'm a member, so I became a member in the past year, and just a few statistics about Blacks in higher ed. So, as you know, there probably aren't many. You can probably count the numbers of Black professors that you had in working on your degrees.
Hmm.
Um, just over 7% of all full-time faculty are Black. That does not include adjunct, which is what we mostly see,
Hmm.
or part-time faculty. And that 7% is an increase over the past 10 years. So
Wow.
10 years ago was just over 5%. The breakdown of that are there are 4% of full-time professors are Black females, 3% of full-time professors are Black males. But the other piece of it, and I'm not sure how much you know about higher ed, but there's a tenure process.
Right. Yes.
So in the tenure process, Black faculty, full-time faculty, are less likely to get tenure than
Hmm.
anyone else. And we saw this really play out with Nicole Hannah Jones a few years ago when she
Hmm.
was offered tenure and then it was rescinded.
Right.
We saw that this year with the professional Kathleen McElroy,
Hmm.
who was also offered tenure and then it was rescinded. And in both cases, it seemed to be rescinded based on the ideologies of the general public, that they were just too mm, diverse, believed in and equality for all, or that sort of thing.
Hmm.
So we know that you know um, even though I might get a job in higher education, I'm less likely to be hired as a full-time faculty. If I am hired as full-time faculty, I'm less likely to be tenured. So, the American Association of Blacks in Higher Education helps its members navigate those systems
Oh,
of
great.
higher ed, which seem to be elusive for
Mhm.
everyone. So that's who I'm talking about today is AABHE.
Okay.
All right. So we got that out the way. Let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the episodes that we've recorded so far?
I mean, I think that the more we do it, the better the flow is. At
Yeah.
least for me, I feel, I mean, it's really honestly our normal sibling banter that people don't see. Like this is how we talk to one another, but um, it's just, putting it out there knowing that somebody's, hopefully going to see it and see it a lot. But I mean, I feel like I'm getting the flow and hang of it.
Okay. Because I look at them afterwards. I'm like, I'm moving too much. I
Yes,
feel like
yeah.
I'm doing this. Like, why am I doing that? Or, not speaking. I'm not enunciating, you know, like my high school teachers would prefer. Like, you should enunciate.
Yes.
Um, so I feel like I should be doing more of that. But then I also feel like I don't do that every day. Like I don't enunciate at the grocery store. I would like a grapefruit, please. So, I mean, it would be disingenuous if people who knew me saw this podcast and they were like, he doesn't talk like that at
I
all.
know, right?
And I don't know if you noticed this, but I've changed my glasses every single time that we
I have
taped.
too. Have you noticed that?
No, because
Yes, because
yeah.
I coordinate my glasses with my outfit.
Well, I'm just
The
trying to
other
get
thing is you
the
can't because of our backgrounds, you never can see like the fly earrings that I'm wearing as well.
oh yeah. I think well, sometimes I can see it, sometimes not. But I changed mine because of the glare. Like, oh,
Oh,
that was
okay.
too much glare. I need some tinted ones, or I need this ones. So are you saying that we both have drawers full of glasses like Fred Sanford?
Well, no, I'm not at that level. But I'm getting there. Glasses now are a fashion statement for me, where before they were just like for seeing. Now I'm really like getting into, okay, I need this color and I need this color and I need, yeah.
Oh, I'm not there yet. My prescription hasn't changed in about 8 years.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I just keep adding, you know,
Okay.
every time my insurance will allow me to get glasses, I just add, uh, because I have the same prescription, so I can now kind of mix and match a little bit more. Okay, so today we're going to talk about, being a vegetarian, what that means. I'm a vegetarian, so I do like to tell people that. And you?
I'm a vegan and I do like to tell people that as well. Not that it ever means anything to anyone.
Well, I tell people I'm a vegetarian and they assume that means vegan. So they'll start talking to me like I'm a vegan. I'm like, well, I didn't say that I'm a vegan. So I want to give a brief um, definition of a
Right.
vegan and a brief definition of a vegetarian so that anybody here who has family members who are one or the other, you're not confusing what they can and can't eat. The question that I hate the most, but I understand it, is, well, what can you eat? So I'm going to explain that. So a vegan diet excludes all meat and animal products, including dairy and eggs.
Right.
A vegetarian diet excludes, I'll just say, all meat, poultry, fish, seafood. Those are also excluded from vegan diets. The addition to the exclusion on vegan diets is dairy and eggs. Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, that is accurate.
Okay.
But here's the thing about it is, I mean, I think even though we get frustrated with the question, I think it's an important question because in both of these realms, there are like variations. Like some people, are vegan, but they allow, honey, for instance,
Okay.
in their life, or, you know, I
And
mean,
we
like
should
there
also say that honey is an animal product because it comes
is an
from bees.
animal product because yeah, people are like, well, what's wrong with honey? Yes. So, I mean, typically when you're talking about veganism, you're talking about people that um, want things that are produced from plant life.
Hmm. So let me ask you, what do you use to sweeten your food, or do you use any sweetener?
So, I mean, in the beginning, I was one of those people that used, I still was using honey.
Hmm.
Um, but now that I've been in it, there's other things out there, cane sugar,
Hmm.
um, agave, which I'm really starting to get more into that. Like I always put that in my smoothies, but didn't really use it like for my tea or,
Hmm.
other things like that. And then there's also maple syrup
Oh,
is a good sweetener as well.
so
So
you're not going to believe this because I had a tremendous sweet tooth as a child. I don't use sweeteners. So I don't use a lot of, I have some sugar in my cabinet. I think I've had it for like 5 years. So I don't use a lot of things to sweeten my food or beverages.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's interesting because even like vegan cookies and things like that, I don't buy a whole lot because I don't eat a lot of sweets at this stage in my life, which is crazy because I loved cake. Um,
I know. I
so
know. I remember we used to call you the Cookie Monster
the
because
Cookie Monster, that was my, I'm like, oh, he's the Cookie Monster. Now, what gone are the days that people had a cookie jar on the cabinet and you could just go grab a cookie? Do you remember having to ask for, may I have a cookie?
yes.
I don't think my children ever asked for.
Mm-mm.
They just if it
Not
was
for
in there,
stuff
they
like
ate
that.
it.
No, not for stuff like that. You just go and get it.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to say this because I think sometimes and in my world, because I'm a vegetarian and I know vegans, and so that's the world I live in. So that's where I try to go eat and those sorts of things. But I can see why people ask. Only 0.5%.
Oh.
Yeah, 0.5%. So half a percent of all Americans are vegan. Only 2% of all Americans are vegetarian. Now, I always say there should be a lot more stuff because, everybody's a vegetarian, but I guess everybody's not.
When you run the numbers, it does seem like there's so many people that are eating in this way, but I guess not.
I guess not. So I assume that's why people ask the questions that they ask. Like my best friend always says, "Oh, what are you cooking for dinner? Hey?" Like pretty much, pretty much. Do you
Yeah.
remember what made you go vegan?
I think, well, for me, I think I was always progressing that way anyway.
Hmm.
Um, of course, like, most folks, or a lot of folks, I won't say most, a lot of folks, I had given up pork and beef back in my 20s.
Hmm.
So it was pretty much like poultry and fish and that. And honestly, I had gotten to the point where I was trying to, maybe just do meat every once in a while because, like, where you were a sweet eater growing up, I was a big meat eater.
Mm.
But I mean, I don't know, as I got older, it just wasn't as satisfying, or I just, it's not that I didn't like it, it just didn't seem to do I didn't get the satisfaction out of eating meat in the same way. But I mean, for me, part of it was also trying to have a stable weight because I was going, my weight would be up and then it would be down and it would be up and then it would be down. And my doctor was basically like, Janice, you need to pick a side. Like, you
Oh,
know, because yo-yoing is actually putting more strain on my health than just being at one consistent weight. And so I realized that I felt better when I was not eating meat. Like every year,
hmm
I was attending this church, and every year during the Lenten season, we do what's the Daniel fast. Well, the Daniel fast is really based off of veganism, so you're eating only those things that come out of the ground.
hmm
So no ketchup, no sour cream, no just your beans, your rice, your and I always feel better after that.
Wait,
So that
ketchup
was
does
kind of
what is ketchup? I thought that was tomatoes.
well, I'm saying it as like a sauce or something like
Oh,
that.
okay,
Like,
okay,
I mean, and here's the thing: you have to always read the ingredients too to make sure, because you'd be surprised
yeah,
as to how many things have milk in it that you know,
yeah,
So
yeah.
even when it says vegan, I read the um the ingredients just to make sure. Um, so yeah, you're right. But then, sometimes it may have a little bit of honey in it. And I mean,
hmm
just different things. Um, so then, so then I had made the decision, like, I'm really, you know, initially I was gonna just, okay, I'm just gonna cut down on my meat. But then I um, came across this vegan influencer
hmm
um, who does a challenge in every August. And she, just basically kind of lays out, what it is. And it's August in particular because that's her vegan anniversary. And, she just challenges people to do it for the 30 days or,
hmm
the 31 days in August. And, after you have done it, if you want to go back, but she just like, at least try it.
hmm
So I just so happened to be going to a conference that was in California at the time that this challenge was coming around. So I like, okay, even though I'm, in a work trip or whatever, I'm going to try it. Well, I was in California, so it was honestly really easy in California. Then the
It's
next
easier than most places like Kansas City, where
Oh,
everything's beef.
well, I mean, it's a lot better now, but just going to restaurants and having to figure out, okay, what can I eat? Okay, I'll have them take this off and take this, and unlike how it was, it seemed like it was even a few years ago. Like people don't want to modify their
hmm
recipes a lot. So that was a big thing too. But I was in California doing this conference and not having an issue. Then I had to come back home. So then that's when I did it for the 30 days, 31 days. I felt better, as I knew that I would. But then I decided, okay, let me see how far I can go. How much longer can I go? The longer I went, the more I realized like I wasn't really missing anything. Although,
hmm
people say like, and there are things that I've, learned how to what we call veganize. There are some, plant-based cheeses or dairy products. I
hmm
mean, I was already into like almond milk and coconut milk and those kinds of things anyway, but it did get easier. And some, there are some vegans that will say, well, that's not veganism. So that's where I'm like, it really, you kind of set your tone as to like what is allowable for yourself.
So, one of my all-time favorite shows when I was a classroom teacher was The Simpsons. And
Mhm.
there's an episode where Lisa, who became a vegetarian during the show,
Mhm.
um, and was trying to chastise people for eating meat and all
Right.
the people who throws blood on you and all
Yeah.
that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Which I'm like, you need to leave people alone because you're gonna run against the wrong one,
Right,
and then you're not gonna be happy with the outcome.
right.
But she came across, I think, the character of Paul McCartney,
Okay.
who was a vegan,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Oh no, I don't eat, dairy." And she said, "Oh, you must think I'm a monster." And he was like, "No, to each their own." So, that's how I kind of went about this. So I'm
Hmm.
not out there saying, you need to be, even when I have friends who are clearly overweight, they're clearly having health issues, they're clearly just eating. And they're like, did I just see you eat 3 Big Macs? you know, like, why are you doing that to yourself? That's not
Right.
cool. I still am just like, no, I'm a pass. I'll pass on that. So me becoming a vegetarian, someone asked me, was it like health issues or anything like that? I'm like, no, no, it's just something I wanted to try. And I'm gonna tell you what happened.
Hmm.
My youngest child had went away to college, and I was talking to your mother. I was in the grocery store, and I, I got to an aisle, and I stopped at the beginning of that aisle. And I guess she sensed something was wrong. And she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know what to buy. And she said, well, buy what you like. And I said, I don't know what I like.
Wow.
And because I had been buying, you know, ice cream and cereal, stuff that kids like, and you just kind of adapt it. Like I'm
Hmm.
not buying, $500 worth of groceries just so they can have theirs and I can have mine. So I just ate what they ate, but they weren't here and I didn't want to eat that stuff. So
Hmm.
I just kind of stood there frozen for a moment. So I think I bought fresh vegetables, I think for the first time in forever. I would just start buying more, because I would get the frozen type stuff. You just do
Hmm.
whatever. And from there, I just started to elevate. I'm like, okay, this is something I want to try. I already, like you, didn't eat pork and beef from my 20s. So I was like, well, I'm gonna try, just one day a week. Then I tried 2 days a week. Then I was only eating meat one day a week. And then it got to the
Hmm.
point where I didn't miss it at all.
Right.
Now, I live around the block from this really great fish place that I used to go to so much that I would call in my order and they knew my name. So I can still open my door and smell them sometimes. And it just
Hmm.
smells so good. So, what I miss the most is catfish. I used to go get catfish all the time from there. So I really miss that. Is there anything that you miss?
I think, I mean, I don't know. Well, I do miss fish because I did like fish, in particular salmon. Because I would grill it or bake it. It was easy to fix.
And
It's very
quick.
meaty, but it's very meat. It's very filling or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um, catfish. I did like. Um, I could never just fry. Like you have to be able to fry it just right. Mine
Yeah.
never really came out
Yeah.
right. But fish probably is the biggest thing that I miss out of it. And I love some chicken, but I don't really miss chicken
Mm-hmm.
like that.
I remember giving up beef and pork and coming home for Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah.
And your mother saying, what do you eat now? What am I supposed to make? So I know it got even more challenging when you became a vegan and I became a vegetarian. So what happens at Thanksgiving? I'm laughing because I can still hear her in my head. Like, well, I want to eat, but I don't eat that.
Well, so I mean, actually going back to that, I don't know if you remember initially she was like, they just own something. Like Like she didn't think that we were serious about it at all. So I remember like that first Thanksgiving coming home and she had, her normal turkey, ham, or whatever. And like she just knew we were going to succumb, and I love greens, but I like the greens had like ham hocks in it. And
Hmm.
I was like, so seeing us not eat some of the food that she prepared because of how it was prepared, I think that's when it was like, okay, they're serious.
Yeah.
And then, yes, then, she did. I mean, so then, yes, we would come home and she would have some other kinds of things for us when we were still eating meat at the time, but she would have some other, things for us in addition to, the normal things that you have during that time. Um, so now Thanksgiving falls on me.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, and so because it does fall on me, I call it blended. So we have a blended variety, of items, some vegan, and then, some, I hate to say regular because I feel like what I'm eating is food. It's food. It's not different. It's not packaged or anything like that. It's cooked food, vegetables, and um, grains and stuff. But I think probably, some of your more traditional items. And so I try to be mindful. I mean, some of the things that I cook, by the way that I cook them, like mashed potatoes, like I'll still make that, but as I say, veganize it so you're not going to have butter in it.
Mm.
You learn how to cook with other things. My greens, I still cook greens. I'm a greens lover, but it's, no meat. And so, this is going into my 6th year now. I think it's
Okay.
my 6th year. And so, you've learned like the different spices to use or different, things that you can use to give it flavor, because that's really what it is. When people think about, veganism in particular, like
Hmm.
it's like they're thinking like it's just vegetables with no taste. Well, I
Right,
mean,
right.
it's not true, so.
So I eat a lot of tofu, which is
Mhm.
crazy because I remember, maybe TV shows in the 80s and they would talk about California people and eating this tofu and but there's, some places that make it really, really good.
Mhm.
And it just I mean, it's a bland food.
In
So
and
don't
of
get me
itself,
wrong.
yes, yes,
But it's how they season it and all
yeah.
that stuff, and it just makes it taste so, so very good. So, what do your what do your friends say about you being a vegan?
Do you want a salad?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you this. I hate a salad as a meal. So I went to and I'll say my fraternity because I think by now people know that. So my fraternity had a retreat. I brought food because usually those type of things they didn't ask in advance. Like, are there any dietary restrictions? Which I think we should always do because and you don't want to see hungry me. If you think I'm mean on a regular, wait till you see hungry me. So I had brought like a snack. I think I brought a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and like some cashews and stuff like that. So people were like, "Well, why aren't you eating?" I was like, "Well, it's nothing for me to eat. I'm a vegetarian, blah, blah, blah." And they were like, "Well, what about this? And what about that?" Finally, they got to, well, the coleslaw is really good. I'm not eating coleslaw for a meal. So I eventually went home. So I probably left right after
Mhm.
lunch because I was starting to get hungry.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen several times where, I was at this kind of big event or whatever, same thing, and they're like, and and at this point, of course, most of my close friends are, no,
Mm-hmm.
The people that I work with know that I'm vegan, but like everybody's eating chicken and greens, and they're like, well, it's still some cantaloupe over there. I'm
Or
like,
or or
okay.
or eat around the meat. Can you eat around the meat? Can
Yeah.
I? Like, you know.
Yeah, and for me, and sometimes I mean, and not that not opposed to a salad because I can make a really really good one, but so, I mean, they'll say, well, there's salad, and I'm like, but it has cheese in it.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
then they're like you're saying, pick around it or take the cheese off where it's right, it's just right on the top. I'm like, okay, when you're not eating in this fashion, you don't understand what that means. I have eaten things like I can remember. I mean, I probably have been vegan probably maybe a year or so, and someone bought me a smoothie. They were like, it was actually somebody at work, and they were like, we know, that you're vegan, and so I got you this fruit smoothie. I had that fruit smoothie. First of all, let me say it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing, my stomach was so
Um,
messed up.
did they
And
put
then I
milk in it?
realized, I was like, was there milk in this? Yes, vegans like, and so once you're not eating those kinds of things
Yeah.
anymore, it has an impact on your body. Like I know, I still like fried rice. I get the vegetable fried rice.
Mm-hmm.
Always make sure that they, like you were saying about the fish people, like I have the one place that I go get my tofu pepper. They know like no
Mm-hmm.
dairy, no, like they know how to fix it or whatever. But I went to this other place, got my vegetable fried rice with no egg. I was so sick. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, so that tells me sometimes like people don't really appreciate the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you're saying like I don't eat this or I can't eat this because
Mm-hmm.
I was clear that there had been egg in that rice.
Mm-hmm.
Just because my stomach was messed up. I'm like, I haven't eaten egg. And not that I was a big egg eater anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, it's just different.
Oh, I will say this. I'm going to count vegetarian and vegan together. This 2.5% of people must pull some weight because the options in the grocery store have gotten so much better over the past 5 years. Like even
Yes,
like
they have. Yes,
the
they have.
vegan cheese or plant-based cheese. I remember it used to not melt. I was like, I
Right.
can't eat this. It doesn't melt.
Yes.
Now it's got to the point, and that just brings me to this. My son was really adamant at a certain time that we stop eating processed foods.
Hmm.
So when you think about a lot of items that are in the grocery store, there has to be some processing to it.
Right.
So one of my favorite, I eat the Impossible Burger. I eat Beyond Burgers. I like Beyond a little bit better, and they have more products on the shelves. So I
Hmm.
did a little research to say, okay, I don't eat them as much. So if I go to a restaurant,
Hmm.
either they'll have either a plant-based burger or a veggie burger on the menu if they don't have anything else.
Right.
So I did a little research. I went to the Beyond Meat site. They said they have no GMO, no cholesterol. I got to take their word for it. I don't know them. No added antibiotics and no hormones. So then I was like, well, what's a GMO? So genetically modified organism, meaning animal, plant, or microbe whose DNA has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. Did you have the in high school the biology class where you
Hmm.
dissected the chicken?
Oh no, we didn't. I didn't do that.
So I did. Because we shot our chicks because they were chicks. We shot them with steroids
Oh.
to make them grow faster.
Hmm.
Because I guess we weren't going to dissect chicks, but that's what we had. So we shot them with steroids every week or every day or however. Then at a certain point during the semester, they were huge, but
Hmm.
they were really like only 2 months old.
Hmm.
So that's what we dissected. So that's what, when I look at the genetically modified organism, that's what I'm thinking about. Like, oh, we're really eating not a fully developed animal or organism, plant. We're eating something that's been modified so that we
Right,
can have it faster.
right.
So I appreciate something that's not, you know, more organic. And I look at vegetables kind of the same way. You go
Yes.
into the store and you'll see the organic, which always costs more, but
Yes.
is always a bit smaller, probably because it wasn't injected with anything.
Mhm.
So just thinking about that, when I go to the a restaurant, I kind of want to. My biggest question is, why does eating healthy cost so much money? Why do we have to spend so much to eat better? So I don't know if you have an answer to that.
I don't have an answer to it, but it certainly is true. I mean, even now when, like your fruits and vegetables like that, like you can't keep them for a long period of time. So you can't like stock up on them.
Right.
But like the cost, continues to go up and up and up and up and up. I mean, I think about, I mean, because I am still a sweet eater. So, like my almond ice cream, costs like $7 compared to even like Haagen Dazs, which is supposed to be top of the line, which might be 5. So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. I'm sure they'll probably say it has to do with processing, or and when I say
But
processing, not, like adding stuff to it, but the
yeah,
whole process of getting it from, the farmer to,
farm to
um,
table, or
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But and I
Well,
know that you do a lot of farmers markets, so
yeah,
that's something, that I think is helpful as well.
yeah, it's expensive too, though. More expensive than the store usually. Okay, let's do our rapid fire questions.
Okay, that was quick.
Yeah, it gets quicker and quicker as we do it more.
Yeah, I see.
I'm trying to keep it under 40 minutes. I haven't quite made it yet. Uh,
Okay.
what's your favorite vegan meal?
I so I like things made with mushrooms. So in particular, there's a king oyster mushroom.
Hmm.
And I fry it. I
Oh,
fry
so
it
you
like
make it yourself?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, but I fry it like chicken. I've also used it to make my version of vegan croquettes,
Okay.
vegan salmon croquettes or whatever.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of like my thing.
So you answered two questions in one, which was what's your favorite meal to make?
Oh, okay.
So, and we may not want to be explicit with this, but do you have a favorite restaurant?
No, you know what? I don't really have a favorite restaurant. I have restaurants that I like a thing, that they may, provide. Like there's an Italian restaurant that has an eggplant parmesan that I like really well, but I have to have them veganize it. Now, I mean, there are some fabulous vegan restaurants coming up. Like there's one that I like to go to a lot because they're actually a blended restaurant. So,
Mhm.
they have both a traditional food menu, and then they have a vegan menu and they have two separate kitchens. So
Oh, okay,
they're not
okay.
cooked on the same grills and everything like that. I like that one. That food is really, really good. And a lot of people think so because it's always packed.
Um, so I guess my favorite food meal, whatever, would probably be roasted roasted Brussels sprouts or broccoli. I just find
Mhm,
it so delicious on,
mhm.
and usually it's on the menu.
Yes,
You know, they usually
it
put
is.
bacon in it, and you're like, yeah, can you hold the bacon? Like,
Mhm.
who wants? Oh, I was gonna say who wants bacon, but I know a lot of people love their bacon. Um, but it's restaurant, not really. And you made me think of grocery store. So now I had to go to 15 grocery stores to get what I'm looking for. And it's a lot of traveling in a month
Mhm.
to do that because everybody doesn't have, everything. And so that's probably the
Y
downfall of it.
Yeah, that is the downfall, going to multiple grocery stores to get, exactly what you need. And even honestly, as far as fruit and vegetables too, like, I mean, if I can figure out a way to make stuff easier, so like I like the broccoli crunch salad.
Hmm.
I'm used to, buy it in the restaurant, but a lot of the stores have it, but then everybody doesn't have the same um producer of it. So you got to go to this store to get this and this store to
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
and this. I mean, I used to complain about it, but now it's just like part of the routine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just something you got to do.
Yeah.
So, any last words for this episode?
I just would encourage, people to just try it. Like, you
Hmm.
don't have to do the 30-day challenge like I did. Maybe just try it for the week and see, how you feel afterwards. I can say for me personally, like, even though it was initially the it was about the weight, but it's about me really wanting to feel better, like consistently feel better. I can say that making that change helped the prognosis of my cancer.
Mm.
When my doctors were, walking me through everything, part of the reason that they felt like I was going to have a positive outcome. I know that it was God,
Hmm.
but as far as the doctors, because I was in such great shape at the time, and part of that has to do with, how I was eating or how I eat.
I do want to add that this is not a diet.
Yes,
So,
it's not a diet, it's a
people are,
lifestyle.
yeah. So people are like, I'm gonna get on that vegan diet. It's not a diet. I mean, you can maintain that same weight being a vegan. So
Yes.
I don't want you to think you're gonna lose any weight. All right, that's the end. We didn't quite make 40 minutes, but we'll get there one day. All right,
Uh,
Shamook, I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
All right,
bye.
bye.